The Perfect Brother is the second segment of the 21st episode of the very first season of Arthur, and I feel like there's a really important lesson in this for both children and parents. In this episode, Arthur is very excited because the Brain is actually coming to stay for the weekend because his parents are going to, I believe it was like an ice cream convention or something, and Arthur is obviously looking forward to this. He's always wanted a brother. He has two younger sisters, and things seem to be going very well. They spend a lot of time playing together. Arthur has big plans for the weekend, but the Brain, being the Brain, would rather spend time doing his homework, reading ahead of next week's assignments, and that kind of irks Arthur a little bit, but they seem to get along okay. But then the Brain seems to just be better at everything than Arthur. There's a particular line where he says, and I think I'm quoting this exactly, he even eats better than me. And I just thought that's definitely something that is going to cause a lot of aggravation, maybe even anxiety, because every child at some point or another will find that they are comparing themselves to their friends, particularly when you spend a lot of time with friends. I think most of us at some point have had that best friend who we just wish we lived with. And then we have an extended sleepover and we realize that actually you can have too much of a good thing and spending too much time with your friends. But the Brain's performance is definitely important for delivering messages to both Arthur and to parents watching it, because the main message here, I'll give a spoiler warning in a second. I will discuss the main message in a moment because I kind of need to explain how the episode ended. But generally, I think it's a really enjoyable episode. I think it's a great chance for us to get to know the Brain properly for the first time. He's obviously featured in other episodes, but this is really the first time where we get to dig deeply into his character more, and he appears quite heavily. It's also interesting to see what it would be like if Arthur did have a brother. I think the decision they made to have a younger sister, TW, and then obviously a baby sister with Kate, I think it worked very well with having Arthur as the protagonist being the only boy child in the family. So that worked very well, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not an episode that I remember from my childhood. I have no recollection of it, but even as an adult, I did enjoy it. So, slight spoiler warning. Well, spoiler warning, I'm going to explain what happens at the end. At the very end of the episode, Arthur goes back to the Brain's house. He helps him take his stuff round at the end of the weekend, and he goes into the Brain's bedroom and realizes that the Brain is actually a slop. His bedroom is a mess, and he'd been displaying this neat, tidy, perfect personality while at Arthur's house. But at home, he is a slob. He doesn't automatically volunteer to help with the getting the dinner or helping with the housework at home. And Arthur begins to realize then that the Brain, as he presented himself at Arthur's house, is very different to who the Brain actually is, and he isn't as perfect as he came across. And the Brain explains that this was because he was a guest in Arthur's house, and we actually see Arthur responding in the Brain's house in a very similar way. He also behaves as a guest should. And the lesson there for people like Arthur, for young viewers, is that your friends may seem perfect, but behind closed doors, they're probably exactly like you with very similar attitudes. And the important lesson there for parents as well is that just because your child's friends may seem more perfect than your child, they may seem to have better manners, they may seem to be tidier, that's just them behaving as a guest. And I think it's important that parents should not compare their child to their child's friends. Now, I'd like to think that no parent would ever say, why can't you behave more like insert friend's name here? But I think it's definitely something that probably happens quite a lot. And that can be quite hurtful for a child. And I don't know if that was ever said to me. I imagine things like, would your friend do this? Or what would your friend think if you did this? I think that kind of thing would have been said to me if I remember rightly. And it can be hurtful. But parents need to remember that the version of the friend they see is the friend behaving as a guest. So I think there are important lessons for everybody. I really enjoyed it. I think The Perfect Brother is a very important episode with some interesting messages in it. and one that I really thoroughly enjoyed.